Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Show. This is Monday. This is the Power Ranking panel. It is Carl, and I am joined by a fine collection of experts that needs no introduction at all at this point. I think we're putting on a good fucking show. Castellani's in his dad's office. I think we have good internet.
Should be, yeah. It's the only program I have open right now is Google Chrome, and I'm right next to the router. So if this doesn't work, I know libraries, at least the one around here, are closed on weekends. If this doesn't work, then this will be the last pod that I do from this house because I don't know what else I could do.
A little hot. Clemmer, how we doing, bud?
Good. My bets have been terrible all weekend, so that's lousy. It makes me feel sad. The Mets are playing kind of okay, I guess, but they're going to get their ass kicked by the Braves this week. So, yeah, things are things.
Things are things. Things are things. We'll be together. I think this group, everyone's going to be at the Barstool Award Show this upcoming week. So that'll be a good time to be,
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Each other. Well, I hope so. Hubs, you said something in the group text that just fucking warms my heart, makes me feel like a young man. You said you were losing your voice this weekend. You lost your voice?
I was at my buddy's bachelor party in Atlantic City. We had a nice little weekend. My voice is gonna go. My voice is gonna go in and out here. Just as what it is. We had a good time. I did not watch the Yankees until today. I despise this organization, and I want everyone to lose their job. And the Yankees have their longest losing streak since 1995. So just to put that into perspective.
Well, how many games is it?
Weird.
8. Why what?
Why is your voice all weird? Were you just like
so do you not like your ears not work where you didn't hear me say that I was at a bachelor party this weekend? And
I understand that. What are you doing at this bachelor party? Just like screaming? Like what's happening?
No, I was gonna back him up. I was gonna back Hubs up on this because I lost my voice on the last bachelor party I went to, which was in Miami, and so much time is spent in these loud fucking clubs and restaurants, and you're with guys you haven't seen in 10 fucking years, hanging out, going hard. So like, you are trying. There is this element of like, "What's up, dude, bro?" There's a lot of yelling. I feel like on bachelor parties. My voice went day 2.
Yeah. Clemmer's just used to go in the library with his buddies, and they can just catch up and share fucking reading lists. So yeah, I don't know. We got after it a little bit. It's loud. We did a pool party on Saturday. It was very loud there. We were betting all UFC fights Saturday night. Sean O'Malley, that was electric. We were getting very loud for that. I don't know. Drink and get loud. It's fun. It was a great time.
Any girls at the pool party? You don't have to name names. Just for the guys.
Okay. This is the only thing I'll say that's very sums up who we are. So you get a table at the pool party. You have to hit a limit. Let's say it was $3,800. So you just have to keep ordering stuff till you get there because you already prepaid for that. We kept ordering so many chicken fingers that they told us towards the end, you have to stop ordering the chicken fingers. Because chicken fingers are only $60. We were 5 orders chicken fingers every time. And they're like, no, you need to get a really expensive bottle, to get to your limit. But we're we just want chicken fingers because we were just drinking beers and high noons and we wanted chicken fingers. So they had to tell us to stop getting chicken fingers, which was a low moment. But they were really good chicken fingers. I'll say that.
It's a progression in life. No babes at the pool party, but loads of $60 chicken tender orders. Yankees 8-game losing streak. Ice cold. Historically ice cold. So we have a lot to talk about. The power ranking panel, as you guys know, 1 through 9. We come to an agreement. The batting order is Carl, Clemmer, Hubs, Castellani, 1 through 4. And then we're going to repeat that 5 through 8, come together for a pick for number 9. Number 1. That sound good? Yeah, I know. I'm just as long as we're in agreement, everybody's feeling good. Okay, number 1, the Braves. Now, when I think of this Braves team, obviously now we're starting to get to the point where I feel like I wanna call out those mid to later '90s Indians teams that had Manny Ramirez and Jim Thome and Roberto Alomar and Kenny Lofton and Omar Vizquel on steroids and just a number of players throughout the. That's how good I feel about the Braves. I want to go to nostalgic off the top because then I wanted to ask Clemmer, what team do you think of when you think of how good this Braves team is?
Yeah, I mean, those Indians teams were amazing. The offense was incredible. Brian Giles was in AAA like for an entire year because they had no place to put him. Like, that's how good they were. But remember, they never won a World Series. They went to 2, lost them both. They just didn't have any pitching. Where this Braves team has better pitching. Like the Indians teams in the 90s, their aces were Dennis Martinez, Orel Hershiser, Charles Nagy. This team has Max Fried. These guys have also won before. So I put this in a different stratosphere than those. Those Indians teams honestly had a better offense, I think. I mean, this Braves team's incredible, but this Braves team is better.
See, that's where I wanted to start with the lineup, because I think the lineup, and then I wanted to talk about the pitching staff, but from a lineup perspective, I go to those Indians teams where I'm like, they're loaded with Hall of Fame talent, and even the guys that don't get in the Hall of Fame are going to have 50 wins above. Like Ozzie Albies is not a Hall of Famer. When he's done playing, he'll have 45 wins above replacement or something.
Yeah,
the guys who aren't amazing are Hall of very good guys.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, even those Indians teams obviously had Tomei and Manny, however you feel about him, but Albert Bell. I mean, he was not going to make not going to make a Hall of Fame because of his hip condition, but was obviously an amazing hitter. Had 50 home runs one season.
And then if you look at the pitching staff, it's just littered with young guys that have Hall of Fame, Cy Young potential.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Hall of Fame. I always kind of pump the brakes.
Well, there's two guys right there between Mike Fried and Spencer Strider that are like on the track.
No? I don't know. Hall of Fame's a big step. I'd say they're very good pitchers. I don't know. Hall of Fame is tough for me. I have a hard time saying Hall of Fame for either of those guys. They're just so far away. Like, it's just, and Strider can be really inconsistent. Strider has amazing stuff at times, but he also does get knocked around a bit.
Yeah. Okay, his last 2 outings have been great. Yeah.
I don't want to go too far down this path, but the records that he sets is exactly what the modern voter is going to be jerking off at on the ballot 15, 20 years from now. It's the strikeouts per 9, the FIP, the fucking ERA plus. Let's not get too far down this path. My point is, when you look at their pitching staff, though, I don't know who to compare it to, because it's full of these young guys that are interchangeable. Before Soroka got hurt, people were talking about him as a bona fide number 1 fucking take the ball on Friday nights.
But let me just clear this up. Like Max Fried is 29 years old. He has 58 wins. Like, he's not making the Hall of Fame. That's what I mean. We got to pump the brakes sometimes with those things. Like, all right, let's just relax. This guy's a very good pitcher who's incredible. And like I said, he's better than the guys the Indians have. But Max Fried's not making the Hall of Fame unless something changes drastically in the next 10 years.
I did not know he was 29. I would have cherry picked a 26, but thank you.
Yeah, one quick thing on the Braves.
Jesus.
They destroyed the Yankees this week. It was, as I compared, if you didn't study for a test, a really hard test, and you didn't pay attention during class, and he's like, well, I'm not going to do well in this test. And then your buddy tries to encourage you and be like, it won't be so bad. And you get the results back, it was a 30%. That was the Braves playing the Yankees this week. That's how different they're playing at the moment. It is unbelievable how good they are and just how bad the Yankees are. But it was just so easy for the Braves to dismantle the Yankees. I think we talked about this last week. Like, the Braves aren't going to play competitive, meaningful games here. It's a little, it's a little worrying. Until October, they're not going. Saturday night kind of felt like that a little bit, not stakes wise, but it was a very tight game against the Giants. And Eddie Rosario comes up there in the 8th inning and just hits a 2-run bomb to dead center. And just, it was just such a it was just like, you just can't beat the Braves. They're so good, 1 through 9. These guys just all have such a good approach to the plate. And, just a guy like Rosario coming through, they're so fucking good. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, we're kind of running out of ways to describe how good they are. That's why I wanted to think of nostalgically, or kind of what comes to mind now that we're this deep in the season and week after week, because there's other teams on this list. The Dodgers are so fucking hot, and they're just so red hot, and you can't even come close to arguing that the Braves, that there's any shot that the Braves deserve to be anything other than in first place. So
correct.
If there's teams I don't know.
To hit the Braves one more time, but the Braves have 234 home runs as a team. The 61 Yankees had 240. And we're in August 20th.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Crazy.
Ronald Acuna does dumb stuff. Didn't he make a bet? Didn't he have a bad? He had a bad. He didn't run something out the other night. He fucked something up. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
He stole third. He stole third today and came home on a bad throw. It was an electric factory type play that he's just accustomed to making. Yeah, every now and then he'll run into some weird plays, but his aggressiveness with the new rules is just so fun.
He's a better version of Eric Davis, like peak Eric Davis. Like when Eric Davis was insane, you look at his baseball card, you think it's a typo. Like that's what we're talking. Like this is crazy land with Acuna. Like he's having just a year that, like in theory, I would tell my grandkids about. Like that's what we're looking at.
55 stolen bases.
And we still have.
It is tough though with that, right? Like that's a crazy number, but the rules do really make it easier to steal. So you have to. We're not going to do that because we want to acknowledge how great of a season it is. But you kind of have to develop some sort of scale of what 55 was in the past. But at the same time, it's so cool to watch.
But that's not fair.
No, it's not. But like you have to also like I don't know. He's going to go down whatever his season is, and you're going to count up all those totals, and it's that the rules do make it a ton easier to.
But
steal.
he has 55. No one else has 38.
No,
like he's so far above everyone.
He is.
And like Ricky Henderson used to steal 100 a year. So did Vince Coleman. So did Tim Raines. It's not just the rules. You got to remember too. Like when we talk about guys in the 80s, like the style of the game was different. Steals were more of a tool of offense. I'm kind of excited it's back again. It's one of the great things about this.
It's great.
What about the 80s allowed him to take more stolen base attempts? Was that they were. It was almost to the point where sabermetrics phased out stolen bases because the risk of caught stealing and the value of an out.
Right.
And so now because you can only pick X amount of times in the pitch clock and you can time and get your head start. So it has changed it that way where I think to Hub's point is to compare to say like 55 stolen bases this year is not 55 stolen bases, before the rule changes. Whereas Clemmer's point is it doesn't matter because 55 stolen bases is fucking – almost 20 ahead of the next guy, right? So we're talking about
and it's also like the style of the game. Like Carl, like you said, like why was it more in the 80s? Well, you had artificial turf, which allowed guys to get a quicker break, and also just that's what they were taught in the minor leagues. Just like kind of like now how like plate discipline is so important. Back in the 80s, stealing bases was really important, and it's just all just philosophies change and stuff. And that's what's so exciting about this season is that the pitch clock and the stolen base stuff we're seeing a merging of these two cultures, these two philosophies, and it's making for a great game. All of our teams suck except for Carl's. Our teams are all in the shitter, but I think all of us, I don't want to speak for everybody here, but we're all enjoying baseball because it's like so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
This is one of the best seasons I can remember since you'd have to go back 15 years. You'd have to go back to when like the Yankees and the Red Sox had the great Sunday night stuff. You'd have to go back to when the Red Sox were thumping people.
Yeah, it's fun to see attendance numbers following with it too. We're up 9%.
Yeah,
like that is what anyone's wildest dreams of what these rules could produce. A 9% increase in attendance is unbelievable. No, I don't think anyone had that that is way beyond everyone's expectations. So the rule changes have created a style of player too that's only going to become more dynamic and more interesting. Like the Christopher Morels of the world, which is just a very micro Cubs. We're like, okay, you play 7 positions below average, but you can hit for power, you can run, you're dynamic. So I think you're going to see this like beautiful baseball player. Almost you'll go back and like the way the left tackle changed the Michael Orr story or something, where like these rule changes have created like that type of baseball player. Like you're forced to play multiple positions. Mm-hmm. You're forced to run. Yeah. All right, it's a beautiful fucking thing. Who's second?
It's me. I'm going to go with the Dodgers here. It's not as easy as you might think. I was really torn between them and the Orioles, but I think the Dodgers have won, 13 or 14, something insane like that. So, I mean, look, the Dodgers, this is not a perfect team. Tony Gonsolin is now out for the year. Yeah. Their pitching staff has had some problems. We've talked about that on this show a number of times. I am happy Kershaw and Urias are back. And Bobby Miller's been good. He's been good. But is Lance Lynn going to keep having an ERA of 1.44? No. So, and is he going to start the 4th game of a playoff? That's kind of terrifying. So, can Walker Buehler come back? So there's a lot of questions. But having said that, though, Dodgers are fucking awesome, the number 2 team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. And that Gonsolin, losing him, obviously it stinks. He's an established pitcher, all-star a year ago. The start he had against the Marlins a few days ago was like one of the worst I've seen all year. I mean, he gave up five home runs against Miami. That offense has just been so explosive. And, I wrote a blog about this earlier today. I feel like ever since May, we've ran with this idea that it's a foregone conclusion that Ronald Acuna is winning National League MVP. Mookie Betts is right on his tail. I mean, they are equal in terms of B-WAR right now. Mookie can't stop hitting. I mean, he's got more home runs and more RBIs than he had when he won the MVP in 2018. Not quite putting up the insane numbers that he did that season. I think his WAR that year was close to 11. Him and Freeman have carried that team. You've got great production out of JD Martinez. And per usual, that Dodgers lab that finds a way to fix players is doing it once again with the guys they acquired at the deadline. Lynn's looked excellent. It seems like Urias is back on track. And you have outliers like Jason Hayward, who's been a corpse for like 6 years, has been having an excellent year. So they're in a weird position because it's one of the few instances in which I feel like they're the team that's kind of chasing some other teams as opposed to the one that's being chased. I feel like maybe they work better as a team that will go into the postseason as something of an underdog. I mean, at the very least, they won't be favored against the Braves. Good vibes going right now. They've been fantastic.
Is there a reason to believe? Like, I know Clemmer, Lance Lynn, has stunk for a little bit. The Dodgers just do this though. Like,
right.
They there's reason to believe Lynn is just going to continue to do this because the Dodgers have a track record of just telling people how to pitch better and how to hit, but they just do it. And we all just turn a blind eye to it while realistically something's going on. And I don't know. I have no reason to believe Lynn's going to stop doing this. It's just second.
What do you
nature.
mean something's going on? What are you insinuating?
I'm not seriously insinuating. I'm just not being meek.
Right.
But I'm just saying they just do. They put people into a lab and they come out and they're just a better pitcher or a better hitter when they seemingly are cooked. Look at we just
his usage has changed tremendously.
Right, so they know how
what they do is as soon as they get you, they're like, hey, all that bullshit you were doing, this is what you throw now.
Right.
We don't give a fuck what you think. This is exactly your pitch mix now.
And to think if there was an organization that was misusing him, and it makes sense that it's the White Sox. If he was coming from the Rays, right? Wouldn't make a lot of sense. But the Astros. He's coming from one of the worst organizations in all of sports. So, it makes perfect sense. He was probably thrilled when he got traded to the Dodgers. They're just going to fix me, man. So, I don't know. I haven't always been the biggest Lance Lynn guy in the world because he throws so much hard shit that, I just feel like it's easier to time up. I don't know. It's a weird theory. I've never fear of him, but, if there's one team that's going to, really rejuvenate him where he's there right now, and I don't think he's going away. So I think he's a really good ad for them, and he's their 4 in the playoffs. I think they're fine with that. So
yeah.
Can I speak to Chris's point for a second about Mookie Betts? Mm-hmm. So Mookie Betts is having this amazing season. Chris is absolutely right. That top of that order is completely, Mookie. You got Freeman. The team's insane. The Red Sox traded him away, basically for what's left now is Alex Verdugo. Imagine if that trade hadn't happened. The Red Sox would absolutely be in a wild card spot. That one trade has changed such a huge landscape. It's such a wild and shitty trade. And I know that people will say, oh, well, the Dodgers had to eat David Price's contract. Big fucking deal. Mookie Betts, not only have he signed long-term, it looks to be now a value if you compare him to what he'd get if he's a free agent now.
Yeah.
That was such a remarkably stupid trade. I don't think enough people are talking about it. But if you had to make a list of the 5 most important trades the last 10 years, this might be number 1. I mean, what it's completely changed the landscape of 2 franchises.
Yeah, I would say. Well, I mean, to be fair, now I hate taking the Red Sox side of this, but I'm gonna come in from a sensible side. It wasn't Chaim Bloom. John Henry made them do this deal. They weren't gonna pay him. And he said, hey, you know who also we want gone? Price. So we're gonna just accept. I'm forcing you to accept this deal of getting dog shit. You're going to take the hit for it because it's your first move as the new GM, and then we're going to eat shit for it. Yeah, and it was a horrific move, and they should have paid Mookie. Mookie Betts was such a clear guy to just be he was I forget how old he was when that trade happened, but I'm going to guess 26, 27.
I think he was
even,
26. I'm looking to look.
so
I think
like,
he's 26.
if he's 31, right, then it makes a little like, Aaron Judge's age when he just signed this deal. He was the ideal age to lock a guy up forever and be your cornerstone guy. And John Henry is just a scumbag and decided, nope, I'm just going to save money and we're going to go buy we're going to buy the Penguins and a soccer team and all this bullshit, save money for that. So yeah, it's a horrific deal. If you're going to grade horrific trades, it's right up there in the last 10 years, probably with like Giancarlo Stanton's as well. But his is much worse. Like
I do blame Heim Bloom a little bit though. Push back on you, Hubs, because yes, he did get a shit. He had to make the move. I get it. And you're right. John Henry is the root cause here, but he also got nothing back. Like Jeter Downs,
because they forced him to get
Connor Wong.
Well, here's one.
Verdugo's good. I mean, Verdugo's
part.
He's a fucking.
Well, they tried to trade Verdugo at the deadline. They're trying to get rid of him. They don't give a fuck. One part of that deal that they X'd was Brusdar Graterol was supposed to be in that deal, and they didn't like his medicals. And to this point, I don't believe he's had an injury. But that guy's just a flamethrower, and he's figured out he could have been a real piece. It's a reliever. Relievers grow on trees. You could turn a reliever as long as you mix up his pitch mix and all this, and he just becomes good. But that was one guy that at least they could have hung their hat on a little bit. Like at least we have the closer of the future here, where Brusdar Graterol throws 103 and it looks so easy. And he was just there. It's like you could have had this guy. Instead, you went after Jeter Downs for something. They got nothing back. But man, when Henry forced him to take Price, really fucking handcuffed him. We'll say that. And that's the most I will ever do to defending Heim Bloom, because all of his other decisions are horrific for the most part. But for that one, not on him. It's on Henry.
Yeah. Number 3.
Cool. Number 3 is me. You left it easy. It's the Orioles. Orioles and Rangers kind of just feeling each other out, right? And no one's really – I feel like they're pretty even for the most part still. But I'm going to talk about Grayson Rodriguez right now because his emergence these last, 5 starts I've got here, he's at a 2.35 ERA, 30 innings pitched. Since he's basically come back from his demotion, I think he was basically down for almost 2 months. His first start back was a little hiccupy, whatever. Since then, and we're going to talk about the teams he's pitching against: Tampa, the Yankees. Now, Carl could pitch against the Yankees and be fine, so let's throw the Yankees out of there. Toronto, Houston, Padres. He's not getting anything soft here. He's getting gauntlets, and 3 of these are on the road, and he's pitched really well. And we worried about the Orioles pitching forever, and we continually will. Even when they're postseason, we'll be like, and Jack Flaherty just got shelled the other day. It's nice to see Grayson Rodriguez is kind of on the right track right now. Cole Irvin too, not really a name you think of when you think of the Orioles right now. Cole Irvin's last, what do I have here? 5 starts, a 1.78 ERA. He doesn't go crazy deep into games, but he gives you what you need. And when the Orioles, they have a good bullpen, that works. That formula works. When you have 5 to 6 good innings from Cole Irvin he's your 4, 5, 6, whatever. Good. So they're getting some good performances here. I'm a little worried about the rest of the rotation right now, and offensively, I'm not worried about them at all. But in fact, I'm just scared because I just see Jackson Holiday highlights every fucking day. And it's just insane. It's just insane when you kind of watch this team and how good they are, and they're 16.5 up on the Yankees, and their best piece isn't here yet. That's terrifying. All these guys are so Adley, Gunnar. It's just it doesn't stop. And he's by far, what is he, a 70 hit tool? Jackson Holiday? It's something like that. So he's going to be it's going to be so unfair when next summer maybe? I don't know what his timeline is, but they're so I timelines for me and minor leaguers screw up because the Yankees just hang on till people in their 26 and everyone else does it the right way. So I think, if he was a Yankee, I'd turn 40 before I saw him. But anyways, the Orioles are fucking scary, and Grayson Rodriguez figuring it out is a lot of fun because a Grayson Rodriguez start in the playoffs, let's say at home or whatever, is exciting.
Yep. They are in the best place that a major league organization could possibly be in. They have a ton of talent at the major league level. They're on pace to be a 100-win team, and they have the best farm system in baseball. This is built not just to be great for this season. They are built to be great for a long time, and that's coming from somebody who was disappointed with the deadline that they had. 8 prospects in the top 100, though. That is nothing to write home about, but at the major league level, they've been dominant. We talk about the formula, and we talk about their starting pitching. The one thing I do believe is I think Brandon Hyde is aware that is their potential weakness. And these issues that we have with them, while fair, are the same issues that we had with the Royals in 2014, 2015. And Ned Yost was aware, hey, look, if we can get 3 or 4 great starts in the postseason, depending on who it is, whether it's Cueto, Volquez, Ventura, whoever, we just shorten games after that. We have a lead after 4 or 5 innings. Good luck, because we're going to go to Cano. We're going to go to Felix Bautista. Yeah, that will be a concern going forward. But every time I feel concerned about them, every time I feel like there's a wall that's about to be hit, they just keep winning. And they're beating good teams. They're beating bad teams. They're having a magic year. They got to finish the job, win that division. But yeah, it's bizarre because do I think them and the Rangers, like in a playoff series, would I probably pick the Rangers? On their best day, yeah. But I think for this list, you got to put them 3 because, the record's better. They just keep getting it done.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think the Orioles are starting to really separate themselves, maybe even from the Rangers. But to Jackson Holliday, by the way, he was called up to Double A. He's 19, 24 Double A games so far. He has a batting average of 340, on base of 409, slugging 526. He's 19. It's his first. Usually it takes guys a little bit to get used to the new level. Nope. He's instantly awesome. He is terrifyingly good. The Orioles are this Orioles team is something. Like I always say, I just hope they spend some money, get some key starting pitchers next year in the offseason. But this Orioles team is wild.
Yeah, I was going to ask my transition was going to be like, do you see any weaknesses with this Orioles organization as a whole? Yeah, it's the Angelos family. They're going to fuck this up, right? I want to be as optimistic as possible, but like if there's one organization, if in all of sports that could complete like one ownership group, I should say, of any organization that could fuck this up, because all they have to do is go sign 1-2 free agent pitchers. That's it. Yeah. Just starting pitching. That's it. That's the last thing. They have everything. They're not going to do it.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either. They could have done it last offseason. They didn't do it. I have no confidence in John Angelos. Complete disaster of an owner.
You know what's going to happen? They could go on to win the World Series easily. Like, it just could happen. Like, they're that talented.
Yeah.
Most likely they're a year away from that. Although, I don't know. Who's to say? But Angelos is going to say something really stupid in the offseason. Like, that concert quote, like, if he's dumb enough to say that, he's going to say something that's going to make people lose their fucking minds about not buying or not being competitive in the market for whatever is out there. I don't know off the top of my head, but I trust John Angelos to say something really stupid about their future.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right about that. One thing that just broke, by the way, Gunnar Henderson was a single away from the cycle, ripped a double his last at bat. Unselfish ball player. Could have stayed at first base, decided not to. But he's with Josh Young being out, he's putting himself in position to be Rookie of the Year this year. And just, what they're showing out, because we can talk about farm systems all we want, but there's a difference between having talent in your farm system and showing the ability to develop that talent. With Adley, Mullins, Mountcastle, and now Gunnar Henderson, they have shown time and again that they know what they're doing in terms of how they're developing these guys. He's turning into a star. Number 4, it's on to me. I really could mix it up because there's one team in the American League that is crazy hot right now, but I got to be consistent. I'm going with the Texas Rangers right here at 4. Now, they had a bizarre weekend. Kind of got their teeth kicked in by the Milwaukee Brewers. But at the same time, they've just had a magic year. I love the deadline they have. That offense is so explosive. It's too bad Seager hasn't been healthy all year, or else we'd be talking about this as one of the greatest individual seasons offensively by a shortstop ever. He's been completely dominant. Even with them sliding a little bit this weekend, they're a very confident group, it seems, and they don't get rattled. And I think that's a reflection of the manager. It's a reflection of the fact that despite the fact that they haven't made the playoffs since 2016, there's a lot of guys on that ball club that have made deep runs in the playoffs that know what it's like to win. Bad weekend for them, but it doesn't negate what they've done the first 120 games. Plus, I got the Rangers in the 4th spot.
just last point I had on the Rangers. Nobody cares. Milwaukee went in and beat them. Milwaukee's a good team. This is their time of year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't want to criticize them too hard. This is minor shuffling of the deck here. Where people got mad last week because we said Rangers were going to be second. Well, now Rangers are fourth.
Yeah.
Now Dodgers are second. Now Orioles are third. I think we all agree it's 1, Braves. And then this 2, 3, 4 situation really is they've been trading who's just winning over 20 games.
Yeah.
So now, so we get to the 5th pick here. And it's a big moment here for me. Because I believe in something big time, Clemmer, with the clubhouse stuff. And we talk big time about how subtracting Franco, can elevate the Rays to a certain point. But I also have to be sensible because he's a 5-win above replacement player. We're not talking about replacement, a platoon outfielder with a bad attitude. So I can't be too cocky here with the Rays because I want to buy into the magic that the Rays are going to spin out of this Franco shit that they've hated his fucking guts for a month. They wanted him out there forever. And now they're ready to rock and roll back again. But I'm not doing it. I'm keeping the Astros here solidly at 5.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I had the Astros. This would be interesting. I had the Astros way lower, 8th. And the reason for that, if you give me a second, is because we've talked, for months about, hey, man, that pitching's going to hold. They have a great rotation, great bullpen. Look at what they did in the postseason last year. And on paper, you look at that rotation and say, hey, great, I'm going to the playoffs with those guys. Framber Valdez has been a disaster in the second half. His ERA is over 6, and that's with the no-hitter. You take that start away. I mean, he's been a mess. He's not keeping the ball in the ballpark. Christian Javier has been a mess for 2 months. His ERA is, I think, close to 4 or 5 at this point. Hunter Brown got popped today, gave up, I think, 6 or 7 runs. I don't know how many of those were earned, but, they had him pitching out of the pen a few days ago because, his bullpen's become inflated. And even Verlander, who I love, in his 3 starts has just been okay. I mean, I think they've won 2 of the 3 games that he's pitched. The offense is capable of turning on. I can't, you put him at 5, fine. I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs, but they just got their teeth kicked in bad by Seattle at home. And so they're only a half game ahead of Seattle right now. So the argument of that separation is not that wide. A month from now, if these guys turn it around and they go into October hot, I could easily see them, becoming a team that nobody wants to face in October. But I'm starting to have my doubts with them. And it's so weird because I've always been the number one, wait for it, it's Houston's going to turn it on guy. But I've been relatively unimpressed by their second half, to be honest with you.
I mean, if we talk about getting their teeth kicked in, JP France, went out and threw a fucking gem against Bryce Miller. They lost 2-0 on a couple solo home runs on Friday. They lose a 7-6 game on, getaway day Sunday. This is where we're trying to talk about, this is why I said this is a big moment because I want to measure. Now, are we talking about playoff odds and what organization or roster? And we're starting to talk about as the season's coming to a close, where do I think these rankings should represent going into the playoffs and the season close? Or is it who's super hot right now? Because what I said with the Rays when I opened this was they won both series. Was it San Francisco in Los Angeles on the road? Tough shit. Going out west is tough. And everybody's asking about this stuff. So this is a perfect time for them to go 2-4. Instead, they go 4-2. So I do like that momentum and that story, and that's the other team that I would consider for 5. But at the end of the day, they lose Wander Franco for the rest of the season. He's their best player.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to Chris' point, the Mariners. So I have the Astros just a hair above the Mariners. And the reason why is just because Julio Rodriguez has been a superhero the last week.
Right.
I don't know if I completely trust, obviously he's not going to keep up batting 700. So what happens when he regresses a little bit? I just want to see one more week out of the Mariners, if that makes any sense. I just need a little bit more. And the good news is for the Mariners, they have a pretty soft schedule this week.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I think.
Yep. So at Chicago, home to the Royals, then home to the A's.
Yeah, Royals and A's. So I think if the Mariners can just take care of business this week, I will gladly put them ahead of the Astros. But I'm just not quite there yet.
That's fair. No, and that's fair. And I might be just going with the hot hand. It's more so it's not just about what the Mariners did. I do have my concerns with that starting pitching that's clocked a ton of innings over the last 2 years. kind of starting to crumble a little bit. Unless one of these guys gets put on the IL, they're going to have to keep throwing them to the fire. That's going to mean more leverage, more innings clocked on those arms. Starting to get a little bit concerned there.
Yeah, it's a weird Astros team. They should, Carl, you just talked about how, Braves are clearly one, and then 2, 3, 4 are a step above everyone else. And that's crazy because Houston isn't part of that 2, 3, 4. But it's completely justified. But like this Astros team is not playing anywhere close to the level of belonging in that conversation. It's just not. Now, I have almost no doubts that they're going to be able to turn this on at some point. It's just what they do. Until they don't turn it on, then I'm just going to believe they're going to. Like, Justin Verlander has looked so-so, like you said, Chris. He's going to be plenty fine for the playoffs.
That's the one guy I'm not worried about. I'm legitimately worried about Frommer, but yeah,
I don't even know if I'm worried about Frommer. Like, he looks lost. I think he's going to be fine for the playoffs. Yeah. What they go after that is more of a, Javier has not looked great.
Right.
Hunter Brown is young, and innings are totaling up, and how is he going to deal with the pressure? They're more of a question mark for 3 and 4 for me in the playoffs, but I really still don't concern myself with now. Is Alex Bregman going to turn it up? Because he's been a little better, I feel like, but where is Alex Bregman? Where's the real Alex? So it's those types of things that just they're not clicking all right now. I still think they're going to figure it out. But yeah, they justify and deservedly do not belong in that top 4 conversation or 2, 3, 4, 5. They're not groups together, and it's weird. I'm going to say that. It's very weird.
Clemmer, do you think Jose Altuve goes to the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Full stop. Absolutely.
First ballot, or do they make him wait because of the scandal?
They're going to make him wait
I don't know. I think Carlos Beltran is going to feel all the sins for the scandal, if that makes any sense. I think that enough time will have elapsed by the time we talking about Altuve in the Hall of Fame. Remember, he's only 33. He does have 2,000 hits. That's why I'm pretty confident he will make it. But I think, you figure 10 years from now, will people still care about the scandal as much? I don't know. So I think that there's a chance. Now, let's say he finishes his career with 2,700 hits, then he won't make the first ballot anyway. But if he finishes his career with 3,000 hits, he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's the greatest Houston Astro of all time. He's gonna, he'll have a hard time not making it in first ballot. But that sign stealing stuff.
Is he better than Craig Biggio right now?
Jeff Bagwell.
Is he better than
those guys? I have a hard time.
Those are fucking great players, Castellani.
No, yeah, I think they are.
I'm not ready to do that yet.
I think he's had a greater impact on that organization considering where he started, their ascension coinciding with his ascension. I think that he'll be remembered more fondly. Maybe not right now.
That also happened with Bagwell and Biggio. I know you weren't alive, but when Bagwell and Biggio joined the Astros, it was post Ryan. That team with that franchise was kind of scuffling, and they were a big reason why they ascended. Now they never won a World Series, Chris. You're right about that. But they did become a very competitive team in the late 90s because of those guys.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Bagwell did have a better career than Biggio. Okay, number 6.
That'd be me. We just talked about the Mariners. Got to put the Mariners there with what they've done. They have. They're not only just half game back of the Astros. They're just 3 back of the Rangers.
Right.
For the AL West. That race is far from over. And both those teams are on losing streaks. The Mariners are on a crazy good winning streak. They're red hot. Julio Rodriguez had a 4-game stretch up until today where he had 17 hits in 4 games. 5 runs scored, 5 stolen bases. The Yankees in that time had 17 hits. 4 runs scored, 0 stolen bases. So that's that. Their pitching has always been it's going to be there. Can the hitting do something? Right now we're seeing it. And I'm kind of on Clemmer's side of I need a little bit more because I've seen for the most part this year how bad the Mariners offense has been. So, but if they're going to keep doing this a little bit and the way they just win the Houston's going to give them a whole lot of confidence here for these next 10 days. They have an interesting schedule. As Clemmer kind of hinted, they have a really at Chicago, home of the Royals, home of the A's, at the Yankees. And then so that's easy, right? So this momentum should continue. But the end is they go Dodgers, home of the Dodgers, at the A's, so okay. but then at Texas, home to Houston, home to Texas.
Oh,
So their end,
that's how the season ends?
their end is an AL West gauntlet of just like, those teams are going to be, as long as this holds, nothing crazy happens here, they're going to be right within each other. So, I think we talk about a little bit how a lot of division races are kind of over right now. The AL West will make up for that and more, I think, with the way that's going to finish.
That end, honestly, Hubs, I think I just got hard.
Yeah,
The end of that's how Major League Baseball is going to end this. That is awesome. We have 3 awesome teams, all deserving to be there. Imagine if they're fighting for like 2 spots, like all that shit. Like, let's go, I'm in. That's going to be must-watch TV.
Yeah.
The Mariners, I got to give Scott Servais a ton of credit. They lose Robbie Ray, who was a major, obviously came up, won the second before, but then, he's a major piece of the team last year. They don't pack up and go home. Instead, you got Kirby, Rudy Castillo, Logan Gilbert, and Bryce Miller. 3 of those guys are 26 or under, and they've completely taken this team on their back, and they're winning, even though one of their major pieces hasn't been a factor at all this year. The Mariners, I always root for the Mariners because they've never been to a World Series. This franchise has so many great stars come through, but this team is fun. Imagine if the late 90s Mariners had this pitching staff. That team would have been unbeatable.
Yeah. Yeah, they're starting to give off some very 2021 Braves vibes where it's like they came into the year with very high expectations, 50-50 through 100 games. Now, unlike that Braves team that revamped their outfield at the deadline, this team kind of sold. I mean, Paul Sewald gone has not impacted them. The offense has gotten hot. And again, they are so scary because that pitching staff, when you get into October and the rosters is shortened, Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, don't want to face those guys, man. Kirby was great in October last year, and so was Castillo. I mean, that's three guys capable of pitching like a number one. Fun team. Yeah, I'm glad to see them back in the fold again.
Right, who's up 7?
Is that Hubs?
No, can I say one more quick thing on the Mariners real quick?
Yeah,
Teoscar Hernandez was a name that was floated at the deadline as a possible sell piece.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's got a 389 average in his last 14 games with over 1,000 OPS. So them hanging on to him. Now, maybe it's my mistake that they hung on to him, right? Like, it just wasn't – they tried to trade him.
Right.
And, they tried to sell more. And they have to – and then here you are. Sometimes maybe that's a psychological thing, right, Carl? Where a guy is in the trade wins and, thinks he might be moving, stays. It's like, wow, all right. Like, this is nice. I don't have to pick up my whole life and move to another city. Starts to free up the mind a little bit. All of a sudden, you got 1,000 OPS in your last 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you're like walking around the baseball field feeling even like slightly better about yourself because shit's weighing on you, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, you're actually in the lineup. We're fine. Everything's rocking and rolling, and your pitchers are out there fucking dealing. The Mariners have such a great pitching staff. I'm happy that they're turning it around this year because whether they do or don't get Ohtani, you want to see him in the mix for Ohtani. You want to see the Mariners in that final stage push. And the fact they've built around the starting pitching staff while other teams have gone other ways. Like they have their own clear, defined philosophy. And the way that community embraces the team, it would be great to see them in the playoffs. It would be great to see T-Mobile Park. I can't believe I said it like that. to see Safeco, T-Mobile, whatever the fuck they call it, rocket. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get to 7.
Maybe you skip me. You skip me by accident? It's fine.
Fuck. Did I go for Clement?
All right, I'll go, what is it, 7?
Oh, my bad.
I would have the Mariners 6 anyway. Okay. 7 is the Rays. I think we all probably agree on that. It's kind of, the wonder, I'm the last one to be like all this clubhouse kumbaya. A lot of what Carl says about that is, in my opinion, total bullshit. But I will say that I think there's something to be said for that. When you're having to go to work every day with a fucking criminal that you probably know might be being a criminal, and you have to keep it quiet. You're kind of always waiting for that bomb to go off, and he is your most, valuable player from a performance perspective. That's got to weigh on people, and that's got to create tension, and that's got to create this whole different. This is different than like I don't get along with so and so, or like Lindor and McNeil are fighting over like a squirrel or a rat or what the fuck's going on, like whatever that. This is a whole different level of just disturbing behavior with the Wander Franco stuff. So I completely buy into that as well, as that may be having an impact, and just getting rid of that toxicity could be a major thing.
The fact that this team is going to win, they're on pace right now to win 96 games. So at worst, they'll be a 90 plus win team with their top 3 starting pitchers out for a long period of time, it's a testament to their system. They are built for that 162, despite all the injuries, all the problems. That offense has been explosive all year. They've just outslugged teams a lot, it seems like, in the second half of this season. The one downside, and I think I speak for all of us here, is because of the injuries. I don't have a lot of faith in a deep postseason run, but you can't deny what they've done in the first 120 plus games of the season. The fact that this divisional race is still close is kind of amazing, considering how many guys have gone down for them.
It's insane. Clemmer, as you kind of are alluding to, I mean, this is just Bill Simmons' Ewing theory, right? Like, it's what you're referring to, essentially, right?
I guess. I mean, I think it's different. I think, like, the Ewing theory.
You can't call Patrick Ewing a pedophile right now.
Yeah.
No. But the basis around Ewing theory is, like, star player who gets a lot of the attention, and maybe wasn't as liked in the clubhouse as and he leaves and everyone's just like, well, he's out of here. All right. Like, let's just, like, do our thing.
Like Bryce Harper with the Nationals. For instance, Bryce Harper is liked in the clubhouse, but
yeah, see, I don't know if Harper fits it.
And honestly, the Wander Franco thing is such a different level of just disturbing and disgusting behavior.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level where you're always looking over your shoulder, waiting for the cops to come through and arrest your teammate. I think that must really play some real psychological.
So I was away this weekend. Were there any other updates other than like that one source from Hector Gomez who says it's unlikely he's going to play again for them, or is there's nothing else, right?
Well, there is talk right now putting him. What is he? He's on the suspended list. They might put him on the.
He's on the restricted list. It would be the. So
he might go on the Major League Baseball might step in and put him on the suspended list, which I think is going to happen this week. And if that happens, that's like another level. But it's a level I think everyone kind of expects.
Does he get paid if that's the case?
No.
Okay.
They came to an agreement. I believe he is not getting. I don't forget if it was, but they came to an agreement about his pay for this one. But yeah, if he gets put on that, no pay at all.
It'll be similar to like Trevor Bauer, Chris.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
crazy,
fucking
crazy.
So that was 7, right? We're on to 8.
Correct.
That would be me. Okay, there's a few teams I can choose from here. The Brewers had a phenomenal weekend. I feel like they might be, and we'll see what happens with 9, the team that is on the outside looking in here. But I'm going to go with a team that has played great baseball over the last several months. They have a lot of star power, and yet bizarrely have kind of flown under the radar. It's the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies they are in a very similar spot to what they were last year, which is, hey, they're not winning that division. They're not catching the Braves. Got off to a so-so start, but they have been trending upwards for several months. Now, I brought this up before, but I thought he made a really good point here. When Smitty was on talking about the fact that the Phillies might be a team that's just better equipped to win in October. And I think when you look at the history of some Dave Dombrowski teams, sans maybe the 2018 Red Sox, who are just dominant front to back, some of those Tigers teams that he had, they were low 90 win ball clubs and made it to the World Series with 88 wins. But when you get into October, they have power pitching. They have a lot of guys that can club home runs, and they have a lot of veteran leadership on that team as well. And also the big X factor ever since he got, that standing ovation. Trey Turner is looking like the guy that we saw be a potential MVP candidate with the Dodgers, over the last several years. I see things starting to come together. They also have multiple players, especially pitchers, Zach Wheeler being the number one example. Several guys whose peripherals are way better than their actual numbers. I could see Water finding its level by the time we get to October. I like where the Phillies are at right now. I think they're in a very comfortable position in that 8 spot.
I have good news, bad news for the Phillies. Bad news is Ranger Suarez is out. This means Chris Sanchez is the 5th guy, which they had 6 starters, so that's fine. But now there's no margin forever. And I know we're really dialing down here, but they traded away a guy about a month ago named Bailey Falter. He was kind of their 6th guy. He didn't have a win all season, but he was at least depth. They don't have that anymore. So if they have to go to a 5th starter, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. So that is a point of concern. The good news for the Phillies is Bryce Harper, since the All-Star break, .520 slugging percentage. So that power is coming back like we all knew it would. That could be really dangerous in the postseason. By the way, the Phillies also lead the National League wild card. So I like this pick by Chris here. I have no problem at all with the Phillies at 8. I'm really just keeping my eye on that pitching staff, because if they lose another starter, that's a problem.
Yeah, Sanchez is promising in some respects, but he gives up a ton of home runs. Like, I know he's a good-looking pitcher, but if Suarez is out, and that is an issue, good point out by Clemmer. Lorenzen update? Anybody?
He got knocked around that
last time out.
But, I mean, coming off a no-hitter, and things are weird. I think he'll be fine.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, they need him to be a third starter. That's exactly what he'll be for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
No doubts or complaints here about the Phillies at 8, and then you brought them up at 9. I mean, really, we have kind of overlooked them, right? The Brewers. Or are we gonna? What do you think, Clemmer? Now, what's your argument against them? Because they do get spanked by the Dodgers, and they come out and they take a series from the Rangers, and they were.
Well,
very
the argument is
before
Toronto
that.
Blue Jays are a better baseball team. I mean, Toronto Blue Jays are a better baseball team than Milwaukee Brewers. Like, full stop. They just are. Now, we can say this: the Brewers lead their division, the Blue Jays don't, which is a fair argument. But the Blue Jays have 4 very good starting pitchers. They have a deep lineup that I know some guys have underperformed. Vladimir Guerrero, George Springer. They have some issues there. But if you put those teams together in a best-of-7 series, I'm going to put my money on the Blue Jays every day. But I have the Blue Jays in that.
And they just got Bo Bichette back, who I think we pay so much attention to Vladdy Jr., and I think he has the highest upside. Bo Bichette the last 2 years has been the most consistent bat in that lineup for them. They remain an annoying team. It's kind of shocking to me they're 13 games above 500. I feel like every time I turn around, they're losing to a superior opponent. But no, they're the team that's the biggest boomer bust team on this list. I had them at 9 as well. You are right. Like, the Brewers, I don't think have done anything to not deserve a spot. I just feel like, but choosing between those two teams, which team is scarier, which team is more likely to end up in the Fall Classic, despite the Brewers being in first place, I still go with Toronto.
Can I just say one thing against my point?
Sure.
The Blue Jays are not. The season ended right now. The Blue Jays would not make the playoffs.
No, that's the thing.
Which is
you were saying
how better the American League is now.
Why?
You were saying Brewers were in first place. The Blue Jays are not. The Blue Jays aren't even in the playoffs right now.
They're half game back of the Mariners right now.
So this is what my question is. So I'm assuming Tampa doesn't fully collapse here. Houston, Seattle, Toronto.
Correct.
And I guess Boston, but not really.
Yeah. Fuck that. No, you shouldn't include Boston. Boston's there.
They are there, but like, I don't know. I think there's a little difference in those 3 teams than Boston.
I agree.
But okay, fine. Throw Boston there. Who's making the playoffs?
Well, it really comes down to, I think Houston's in. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but right now my gut tells me Houston, and then it's a battle between Seattle and Toronto for that last spot, which is wild and exciting. But maybe I'm wrong. Imagine if Houston falls out, which is they're only half game up.
Dude, if they're right, yeah, they have put themselves in a position where they have no comfort right now.
I guess the question is this: who's the better team? I think we all probably agree the Blue Jays are better than the Brewers. Maybe or maybe not, but you can understand where I'm coming from. The other thing is what team has a better postseason chance, and I gotta say the Brewers do.
But then now, why would I come in here as a Cubs fan and then just let you guys take the Blue Jays, put them 9 in front of the Cubs, when what the Cubs did a week ago was go into Toronto, take a fucking series from them, and then turn around and go, what did they go? 3-2 this week? Whatever. They had the exciting win against the White Sox. It's not like the Cubs did anything to get run out of here by 9th place, and now I'm just going to come in here and, Blue Jays this. They just beat the fucking Blue Jays.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's 3 games, Carl. I mean, the Blue Jays have, 5 more wins than the Cubs do this year? I mean, what's 3 games? I don't care.
It's a power ranking. It's who's hot right now, and this is what we're trying to balance as we're going into. I know that's not how you look at it, and it's not how I look at it. I look at it as who's hot right now, who's earned it. I think we might have overlooked the Brewers in weeks past. We don't talk about them. You don't think they're good. Brandon Woodruff's fucking back. 3 starts back. Wait till he's 6, 7, 8, 9 starts back going into the end of the season. You guys are trained.
I didn't say they weren't good. I said I think the Blue Jays are better. I think the Brewers are a good baseball team.
Do you think the Blue Jays are better than the Cubs?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's close.
I think the Cubs a week ago and the Cubs beat them.
I don't care about a 3-game series. That doesn't mean dick to me.
But if they're close enough for me to ask the question and they recently played and the Cubs recently beat them, why wouldn't you say the Cubs are better?
Because there's 28 other teams.
Clemmer, you do this every week with the Blue Jays.
I know, but I'm not. They are still on pace for 90 wins. It's not like I'm a
but
person.
we know what they're made of. We know what this is.
Well, I don't think the Brewers are made of much either, though.
No, I'm not defending. I'm not defending the Brewers.
You don't watch that team. You don't pay attention to the Brewers.
You, I watch everything. What the fuck is the Brewers? I do too watch the Brewers. They put me to sleep. I have to wake up like, oh, that's right. They're the most boring team, but I give Craig Counsell credit. He's an awesome manager. Oh,
Right.
my God. And that pitching staff is legit. That offense is dreadful and boring, but I think the Brewers, I don't know. Any one of those three teams makes sense. I lean toward the Blue Jays, but I completely understand Cubs and Brewers takes.
Okay, so you like the Blue Jays. I don't think the Cubs have done enough to evade the 9, but I don't know if they're the 9th best team in baseball. That's where I kind of stand as a Cubs fan. I think that they're willing, maybe they were overvalued last week.
I don't know. Where did we have the Blue Jays last week? 8, right?
I don't think we had the Blue Jays on here last week. We had the Phillies on here.
So the Mariners stuck in, but I don't know. Who do you like, Cubs, out of these three?
So it's razor thin. You can make a good argument for either side. I think no matter what, you're going to get yelling from the other side, from whatever fan base. It's just what it is. There's no right or wrong. I still like what the Cubs have got going for them, and I Toronto just Jekyll and Hyde, and yeah, Bichette being back does help. Ryu looking very good.
Yeah, and Kikuchi
is surprising. I did not. Now he's not going to go deep into games for you, but he's that took me back. Losing Manoah, you think Manoah comes back from his original demotion, and then you send him down. You're like, oh well, they're fucked. Here's Ryu looking pretty solid. It's pretty tight. I would still lean based off of the Cubs being in the rankings last week. Don't think they did enough to get out of the top 9. So, but just based off that, I like what Carl was saying. But you can really make a case for anyone. But I would stick Cubs at the moment.
So here's one reason I'm pumping the brakes in the Cubs. And I've been the biggest Cubs guy on this show. One thing that concerns me a little bit is Stroman. He's hurt. He pitched like shit. He's on the IL now.
Yeah.
That worries me because my whole thing with the Cubs was they have this with Steele and Stroman, you have kind of these two aces. And now it's just Steele. And then Smiley is James and Tyon has been I just don't see that next guy. And that concerns me. I still like all these teams better than the Reds, by the way. Once again, the Reds.
Yeah,
All we heard, Hunter Green comes back, Nicola Dole comes back. It's like getting, Nolan Ryan and J.R. Richards. Get the fuck out of here. Hunter Green got smacked around today.
I think
they're
today.
in second place, by the way, right? Aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're doing great. 64 and 61, by the way.
I also say this. I'm sure some Red Sox fans are going to be feeling themselves after sweeping the Yankees. You have Houston, Dodgers, Houston coming up in your next 10 games. So if you survive that, you'll have my attention.
Yeah, they'll find their way into these top 9 if they're above 500 in that 10
right.
games.
So I'm almost and we've been here before where I had Red Sox in 10 or 9, and then the next week they lost a series to the A's. Yeah. So beating the Yankees, I think anyone can do that. I'm not putting a lot of stock into a sweep against it. So if any Red Sox fans listening, you're like, where's my team? How do you do in these next 10? Because that's a gauntlet. So figure that out, and then we have a conversation.
And Clemmer, just because you're an asshole about the Reds, I'd like to make this point. People talked about Spencer Steer getting moved out to left field now that Noel V. Marte's up, and Encarnacion Strand had a game-winning home run the other night in a 0-0 game. A lot of fucking momentum in that clubhouse. Those guys are playing for each other.
They did.
Each other.
What happened today? Oh, they lost 10-3. That's right. Preaching home. Nice job. Against the Blue Jays, by the way, I'll say.
Yeah, Blue Jays batted around against Hunter Green in one inning.
Ryu lowered his ERA under 2 in that start, by the way.
I'll throw Canada a bone. I'll throw the Blue Jays 9th here.
Are we going Toronto?
I don't like having a third place team 9th in the rankings. That's my reservation as a Cubs fan and a guy who follows this fucking team, that maybe I didn't get too high when people were so high about him, because I watch him all the time and I think, dude, I went out and watched Justin Steele pitch the other day. Guys fucking drags his balls all over the mound. He's awesome. He executes pitch after pitch after pitch. His pitch execution is as high as anybody in baseball right now. The reservation is the superstar power, the takeover dominant power. Once you get past Bellinger, you just have to go out and play high quality baseball every day. And against the Phillies in a 5-game series, that's a really tough matchup for a roster like the Cubs. And again, one thing I have a problem with is putting a third-place team 9th in these rankings when we've talked so much about other teams that have competed enough, which is why I'm willing to cede here and say, all right, fine, Blue Jays, if Clemmer's fucking coming in here, what did you say? You're rock hard for him? You have a boner for who?
I got a boner for the AL West matchup at the end of the season. That I am rock hard for. Yes, Rangers, Astros battling like that. Let's go. And Mariners in the mix.
Castellani, any complaints? I know Hubs, you don't like the Blue Jays generally.
I don't have any. No, I mean, I generally agree with Hubs on the Blue Jays thing. It's just they're the weirdest team because I'm so scared of what they can be as opposed to what they've been. I know there's no way that there isn't an elite team in here somewhere. The offense is just too damn inconsistent, but I think that the deeper this goes, I trust their rotation to pitch their way into the postseason as opposed to a few other teams that could potentially make this list. So I think there's strong arguments to be made for them. There's strong arguments to be made for the Brewers as well. But right now, given a slight edge, despite the great weekend that Milwaukee just had, slight edge to Toronto.
I'm fine with Toronto. I'm not going to – they're all so even to me. If you just make a point, I'll agree with you basically. Like I'm not gonna like get upset or get bad out of shape. Like I'm fine with the Blue Jays being there. Just buyer beware. Like understand what they do.
Right.
We have Braves 1, Dodgers 2, Orioles 3, Rangers 4, Astros 5, Mariners 6, Rays 7, Phillies 8, Blue Jays 9. This is the Barstool Baseball Power Ranking panel. If you guys have disagreements, please leave respectful comments in the YouTube section, and that's after you guys subscribe. We're going to be back on.
Disrespectful ones for Hubs.
Well, that might hurt the algorithm, Clemmer.
Why would they do that? I just gutted this out with my voice.
Oh, we need more chicken tenders. We need more chicken tenders. What a wild time.
If you tasted those chicken tenders, you would understand.
Where was this at? Atlantic City Chicken Tenders?
Yeah, we were doing the pool party thing. I don't know. It was just we had to eat. We were there for 7 hours drinking tequila. Like we need.
What dipping sauce did you use?
Nothing. Just scoop and go.
Oh.
Like I'm not. It's not a sit down, Clemmer. You're just standing while like you're in a pool. Like you're just having chicken tenders. And
you guys just raw dogged chicken tenders in chlorine all day?
I was gonna say put them in the pool water.
High noons, tequila, chlorine. Probably a lot of piss in the pool.
Oh.
And chicken tenders.
The high noon sound great. The other four things sound atrocious.
I like a chicken tender. What is your fucking problem with chicken tenders now, Clemmer?
I like chicken tenders. I like a little honey mustard, a little barbecue.
I would love honey mustard, but if you think the people working there who didn't want us ordering the tenders in the first place, we're going to bring out sauce so we can further enjoy the tenders, you got to like they just wanted us to order the $1,000 bottle of tequila. That's quite literally it.
It's never going to happen. Well, thank you for gutting this out. Voice sounds great. Couple cracks here, but, you know.
I figured it out. I figured the voice complexion out about 10 minutes in.
Nice.
We're back on Wednesday with some season preview award stuff. After a great time at the Barstool 20th Award Show, you guys tune in for that. Until next time, this is Barstool Baseball. We'll see you guys later.